This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen Anything's Possible, a new high school rom-com from director Billy Porter. It follows Kelsa, a trans teenage girl who is mostly just looking to be herself in a world that might reject her, and Kal, a teenage boy who is also just trying to find some sort of happiness, I think. It's a bit vague what his motivation is, honestly. Either way, the two start a bit of a scandal at school when they begin dating. Not only creating the usual sort of gossip among classmates, but affecting their own friendships. As Kelsa loses a friend who had her own eyes set on Kal, and Kal loses a friend who can't comprehend the new relationship. Amidst these troubles, Kelsa finds herself trying to find her own purpose in the world, and not so much what it means to be trans, but living in a world where she is simultaneously praised for her bravery and reviled for her existence. That might sound extreme, but the movie does do its part to touch upon trans issues in a balanced manner. One that's more focused on a single trans person's perspective than a more general perception as a whole. Couple that with the fact that it's a teenage romance, and you have the groundwork for an interesting concept with a lot of obstacles to cross. It does help that it sets up the romance between Kelsa and Kal up front, making them into characters who have more to them than simply being outcast or downtrodden or whatever the case may be. It is a pretty simplistic relationship though, with more time given to making them happy to be with each other, rather than anything more substantial or deeper on an emotional level. Still, it's not too flat, and the thematic substance does come into the film in its second half, though it does get introduced in a bit of a rushed fashion, like there are a few conflicts that seem more personal than anything, but then they ramp up the intolerance and greater commentary rather quickly. It's still given the amount of weight necessary when talking about these ideas, and it's all part of the greater character development for sure, but it's still a bit sudden, given the rest of the film and its story up to this point. In fact, there are even a few later moments where the earlier comedic tone clashes with the later dramatic story elements, making for something that seems to want to have it both ways but can't quite find that balance. Either way, the overarching positivity at hand does at least separate this film from others that tackle similar subjects, so at the end of the day the movie has that in its corner. Because of this focus on the story, the technical elements are relatively underwhelming. While there is a good amount of creative shot composition within the frame, especially with lighting and a few nighttime scenes, the actual framing is pretty underwhelming and put to more practical use. Music choices here are like in several other movies I've been seeing from this year, where the actual song content doesn't mean much to the story itself, beyond general mood and tone. I really need to figure out a term for this sort of thing. I think I called it like a playlist before. Anyways, there's not much to say about the editing. It's pretty standard. All in all, it just kind of makes me wish that for a story that had as much time given to making it feel like a fresh take on a classic formula with contemporary ideas, the actual makeup of the film had also tried to be something with a bit more energy in its presentation. On the bright side, what we get from the rest of the film, and especially the characters, does meet that sort of spirit that the film wants to get across. And while it's not enough to make it completely worthwhile, it's still enough to let the story say what it wants to say. Anything's Possible. Billy Porter, 2022. 2.5 stars. Even if it's hit and miss, I'd still say that it's worth watching. That's it for me. If you like this review, leave a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I want to say more, but I can't for whatever reason. Mostly I just don't want to get canceled on the internet for saying something wrong. Then again, it would be free publicity.